Hi and welcome to the channel. In this video I complete the wing rib jigs like this one. So let's see how I do it. I need to just work out the order for the pieces, and I need to put a label onto each of the cross pieces here so I know which ones are going to go into which position. And I can then make up a whole stack of those when I actually get to making ribs. So working out the order, it's going to be hard to get them into the back end here, so the diagonals are going to go in first at this very rear point and then tend to go for verticals. So I'm labelling it, there'll be a triangle piece going in here, which we'll call A, and then I'm just going literally A, B, C. Then we're going to go into the verticals, D, E, F, and the diagonals again, G, J, and then getting right up to the front end here. I've got to J, so this one here, L, the lower diagonal, so M, and then into the verticals again, and then the last diagonal. So with all these labelled, they're going to have the same labelling on all the jigs, and that way I can literally just reach into the pot or whatever, get item L, know exactly where to put it, and it'll be the same on all of the ribs. They should all be just about identical, and all those will be cut so that they are nearly the right fit from a master. I'll make up a master one on a test, on the first test rib, check that out against all, and then create a whole box load of them, however many I need, 30, 60, however many it is of each one, and be able to go on from there. So I'm going to label up the rest of them, and then the next part which I need to deal with is actually putting a coating over here. I'm going to put a Fablon coat of sticky back clear sheet over the top of this. I'm going to put my film layer on here, something I haven't done before as a surface for a wing jig, but this time I thought I'd give the clear Fablon a go. Shiny clear Fablon I'm using. It's got a very shiny sort of surface on it, and we'll see how this comes out. Hopefully it'll work reasonably well. Weight on there. I've put masking tape on each side, so that should allow me to be able to peel the backing off. Good. You've just seen I've taken the wiped the surface down to get rid of the dust. Get that stuck there. Bit of blue tissue. Rub this down. And there we have a nice finished product. Yeah, it looks nice and shiny. So next is to make up plastic blocks to go into various places on here. The next task is to make up the blocks for the spar sections, leading edge, and for holding in or positioning for various parts going around the jig. So I'm using this nylon type square section plastic for that. The glue shouldn't stick to it, should be easy enough to deal with. I can drill holes in it and screw it down. Slight disadvantage with this, it's dead flat on two sides, but it's got a slight radius on the other two sides. So what I'll do is I'll cut this to sort of lengths, and I'll sand a flat on the edge, then I'll cut it to the exact size I want it to be on the plan. So for example there it's 5 3/4 inch for the spar. I'll make sure that's spot on. I'll make 4 up at the same time so that all 4 are exactly the same length, so it's keeping that repeatability for each bit. And then I will drill and countersink and be able to screw those into place. So nice simple system to sort of cut. I'll be using my my trusty saw section, and with bits marks off to length, approximately that long. To start off with, I can just cut it through, and then, as I said, I'll sand this on the sander. I can drill, and that would make a perfect block for going, for example, there. And there'll be blocks like that, short blocks on the end wherever there's a vertical, to make sure we don't force the cap pieces of the rib outwards and out of the correct profile shape. So as it's nylon, if you run the belt too fast or something like that, it just melts. So just take your time and let it cool down. After you've done the machining, I found it's good to let it just cool down. The waste then is quite sort of brittle, easy to sort of scrape off, and then any final bits you can use a hand sanding block, and it trims back really quite fast with a hand sanding block, but just to get rid of the worst. So now I've got 3 flat sides, and this side will be the one which I will drill, countersink and drill is my normal method to get a block to fit. We'll just run a countersink. I've got the drill set at quite a slow speed. So countersink, it'll look oval because of the curve on the face there. The countersinking bit which I'm using is one of these with just a single cutting flute on the side. I find these work a lot better when you're drilling or countersinking plastic type materials or soft materials, rather than using the sort of standard rose type countersinking bit. And as before, I'm running with a low drill speed, that way and a sharp built bit, so it produces good quality swarf like that. That's a good indication that you're not running it too fast. The big problem with nylon is if you run too fast, you just end up sort of melting holes, and you end up with burrs of plastic coming in various areas which we don't want. So that's one block made. I'll go through and I'll do batches of blocks at a time. Okay, so before I start putting all the blocks in, I'm going to use a tack, or a panel pin, to hold some of the verticals in position. So put a piece of wood that's clamped in place, just going to hold this into position like that, and then this will act like a sort of centre punch mark, just to make sure I keep everything in position. Put that in there, and I'll do the same this end here. And then what I'll do is I'll actually drill a hole down here on the pillar drill, so it's absolutely upright. And I'll do that when I do all the others. So I've got the marks. I'll go around and I'll make sure every single one is set like that and drilled. You'll see that later. So the difference for the lower rib is I've put in these two dowels here, which are a close tolerance fit. What I've done is I've actually drilled a hole, filled it with some Sino super glue, thin super glue, let it soak in, cured that, and then reamed it to 1/4 inch. Take these 1/4 inch posts, both of these, and you'll see that they actually hold the capping piece out to its position and this rear upright to its forward position, because it's critical distance here for the aileron spar on the lower wing. And to allow this to go in, because it's so short it's very hard to flex it to get it to go in between the capping pieces, it allows me to lift these and just push this back into position and then put the two pins in for it to cure. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I fit my blocks. So as you can still see, this is for the rear spar, so I'm actually making up the width from there to there to match the same width as the rear spar, and from top to bottom it is exactly the same height as the rear spar, 3 1/4 inches, as I've actually measured using vernier calipers. So I'm positioning this on the plan drawing. As you can sort of see, just put the screw in and I'll put a little tap in there, just to tap it and hold it in position. Double check everything is still correct. One in, that one in. So that gives me some marks there. I'm just going to pilot drill. Get that into position. Like that. And now I can put that one into place. Actually clamp it. That'll hold everything in its correct position, and we'll do the same again. So now I've got the main uprights in, making sure that these are absolutely spot on the position. This is a critical one for the main spar, again critically measured, because it's got a taper, so I only need to have the front edge, I don't need to have the rear of the spar shown, because it tapers away from that. This is just a block for this particular one. It's not super critical except for its position front and rear. The rear spar one with the width set for the spar itself. I've got the two tail ones in, and now I'm going to be going along and placing in blocks where the verticals are, at each point where the verticals are, so that the vertical doesn't push out the cap pieces. So I'll go around doing that. Okay then, so all the blocks are in position, and now I'm going to put the panel pins in. Standard panel pin is what I started off with there, stainless steel ones, which I've cut down to shorter length to take the head off. That way the rib should be able to come off nice and easy. So I've just used this type of cutter to cut them down to length, and then I've just touched them up on the bench grinder to get rid of any burrs or nasty bits. So everything will lift off nicely. There's no real sharp end there for me to catch myself on as I'm putting things into the jig or taking things out of the jig. And as with everything, I like to take a little bit of time and get the jig sorted out, so I can put the pins in. All the holes have been pre-drilled, and just tap it and you can sort of see just go down, and I've got this little piece of fuel tube actually that's been trimmed down, and that's just acting as a gauge so I get them all the same height. That's me just being the way I am. I like things to be relatively equal all the way through. Now, you might sort of say that cutting down all these and grinding them is a repetitive task. So my answer to that is get used to doing repetitive tasks with ribs. That's why it's worthwhile making jigs for anything that you can where there's a repetitive task and it needs to be carried out to the same standard. So I spent a lot of time getting these jigs just right. My feeling about that is it's important to have the jig good so it can do a repeatable job. That's the whole point of it. The repetitive task, there's nothing worse than having to repeat the task again because you've got one that's not quite right. So take your time and try to break the job up a bit. So when it comes to making the ribs, there's 64 ribs if you include the half ribs or the nose ribs which need to be made up. So there's an awful lot of work that's going. You can see there's a lot of repetitive sections about it. So when it comes to cutting out the little cross pieces and things like that, I'll do a bunch and then I'll do something else, and I'll do another batch and I'll do something else, and I'll do a complete batch for one type, so all the B's or all the C's or whatever, which is sort of 30 odd that need to be done. Or when it comes to the front end, the bits to go around the half ribs or the front end of the ribs, I've got 64 of each of those to do. So I'll do a batch of 1 or 2 items and call it quits for the day on that and do something else to break it up. Really important you do it and break things up. It's part of the reason why I like to do the wings first, is because you've got a lot of repetitive tasks on the wings, the basic structure of the wings. So you can do that and then take a break by doing a bit for the fuselage or the tail feathers or something else. You can break things up. Hey, anyway, I'm going to carry on and get all the panel pins in. The completed rib jig here. All the panel pins are in. Note I've got some on the outside because that's the critical side, and some on the inside just to make sure that the capping strips conform all the way along. They're all at the same height using my little tube jig. So from here it took just on 5 3/4 hours to make up the full set of jigs which I've made up. But just to make up a single jig like this one here is 3 hours and 50 minutes it took to do just one jig. So it didn't take that much longer to create the other 3 jigs, which will, in the case of this aircraft, will speed up my build time on ribs quite considerably. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see what we get up to next time. Bye for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.